Okay, we're ready. Hello. What's up? And today we're playing a game called Choices Matter. Dawn. Fetch an app that updates once per week, supported by in-app purchases or video ads. Okay. The first part of the story is free. It's just the beginning. We plan introducing stories. Okay. Okay, now why is my voice so weird? There's no death in your future, but that does not mean your decisions are without risk. Okay? Choice. Okay. Day 95. And the orange ball of gas that sustained life on this planet billions of years was still burning in the sky. The scientists were completely wrong, thankfully. Something vibrating on my wrist. I raised my hand and studied the watch-like device. It was Moticon, or simply Moti, as I called them. Hello, teacher. The temperature this afternoon is a crisp 30 degrees Fahrenheit. I do hope you're wearing a warm jacket. Don't forget that you also need to pick up the travel document from Miss Montage. She is expecting you at her home. Stepping out of the train car, I adjusted my coat. Moti was right. I should have worn the one with the wool lining. Too late to worry about that now. Dolores Montage's house wasn't too far away from the train station. Okay, her house isn't too far away from a train station. Why would that be useful? As my boots crunched through the snow, I felt Moti vibrating on my wrist. As ever, Moti's cheerful race greeted me. Have you received a message from Professor Saul? He is insisting you see his latest breakthrough right away. Okay, let's go visit the professor, because he has a breakthrough. That's interesting. Dolores could wait. Even if Saul's matter wasn't urgent, he had become unhinged since the incident. Well, swing by Professor's place. First, Moti sent a message to Laura to let her know that I might be a little late. Okay, would you like to review the message I composed? Sure, Moti. Dolores, I'll be slightly delayed, unfortunately. This message is Enrique, teacher. It's pinch perfect, Moti. I knew you can do it. Thank you, teacher. I have sent the message. Before I knew it, I was struggling through the bitter snow on the professor's front lawn. There was a dull, muffled nose coming from inside the house. I pushed the buzzer next to the front door and waited. Yes, a voice came through the intercom. It sounded a little strange, more than usual anyway. It's me, Professor. I'm in the basement. There was a relief in his voice. That was the sound of the door unlocking. Taking that as an invention, I opened the door and let myself in. I noticed a large suitcase sitting by the front door. From its bulging sides. I had the impression it was overpacked. Was Sol going somewhere? He hadn't said anything about a trip. Examine the suitcase. Of course, I knew by the language that examined it. There was a tag labeled Flying Falls. Why was the professor going there? More importantly, it looked like it was packed in a great hurry. The professor wasn't exactly a beacon of tidiness, but this was messy even by his standards. The spatial efficiency in the suitcase is very poor. I would recommend repacking it, teacher. I'll pass your advice along to Mr. Professor. Okay, Marty? Open the door to the basement. Wait a minute, is there any audio? Who's here? From YouTube, I'm guessing. Suddenly, I was hit in the face by the light switch cord as I fumbled to grip it. A voice rasped in my ear. No, it must remain dark. Jumping from the shock of the hot breath on my ear, I let go of the cord. Professor, is that you? A dim glow appeared, highlighting a disheveled, unshaven face. His reddened eyes bored into mine as he beckoned me over with a bony finger. You must see this. Come quickly. I hesitated, remembering what happened last time. Slowly, I inched towards the professor. Scattered papers with freezed scrawling littered the desk and floor. An ocean of ideas spilling out from the brain and flocking of the dark room. Something caught my eye. You saw it too. Sol's tone reached fever pitch as a grimly figure pinned the paper with the strange symbol. He began to ramble incessantly about theories and equations. Scanning the desk, I noticed his battered diary with a lock. I wondered if its contents were more correspondable than the professor. I'm gonna leave that alone. Most people were fiercely protective of their diaries, and given the professor's person for dangerous experiments, in some of which I was unwriting test subject, I decided was best I left the diary alone. Teacher, my logistics processing unit might be damaged. I am unable to understand Professor Sol. I swallowed a laugh, knowing I had to gain control of this conversation somehow. Sol, I interrupted. What's this got to do with the sun? Sol paused for a moment, then looked at me excited. Yes, the sun. It all comes back to the sun. People have a right to. A grunt caught my eye from the top of the stairs, and I instinctively stepped back. Bang! What? Sol cried out, then slumped to the floor. Professor, I leaped to his side and fluttered my hands over his chest, desperate to stop the bleeding, but not wanting to hurt my friend. Hands shaking, I glanced back at the top of the stairs and spotted a shadowy figure running off. A gargled sound made me turn my head back to Sol. He looked like he was trying to tell me something. I was never much good at autonomy in high school, but I knew what the chances were that he'd survive. I tilted my head down and lowered my ear as close as possible to the professor's mouth, my heart thundering. Nothing. He was still. Soul. Teacher, the professor has passed. Damn it! Silently cursing, I was about to pull my trembling hands away from his chest when I felt something under the professor's lab coat steadying my hand. I reached in and pulled it out of his pocket. It was a card sleeve containing a printed bus ticket, emblazoned with the red and white coyote logo of the long-distance bus company. Inventory scanned and stored. Travel destination, Flying Falls. A single thought broke through my shock. The murderer was getting away. Not having any time to think, I pushed the ticket into my pocket, ran over to Soul's working desk, and pulled open the top drawer, knowing that I'd find inside the professor's revolver. It was a small gun, at 8 inches in length, and it was made of a sturdy stainless steel. I glanced over at Soul's lifeless body last time. "I'm sorry, Professor," I whispered. I snatched up the revolver and leaped up the stairs. The murderer couldn't have gone very far, not with the adrenaline pumping through my veins. I could see the door swing wide open from the attacker's illustration. Unwilling to risk losing Soul's murderer, I held my gun up and charged towards the exit. The door flung open as I burst into the bitter cold of the street. Hurried, I scanned my surroundings. There was no one out there. "Teacher, there are fresh footprints leading to the left." "Thanks, Moti," I said, and I followed the trail, my boots sinking into the snow with each heavy step. Desperately, I scanned the street for anyone suspicious. The street was completely bare. It looked like my luck had run out. When suddenly, there, someone was getting onto a bus. That could be them. But before I could go after them, I noticed someone else slipping into a nearby alley. One or the other. It couldn't be both of them. The shadowy figure disappeared down the alley, and I crunched through the fallen snow in a hot pursuit. Skidding round the corner, my feet pounded the concrete. There, the tall person wearing an overcoat and a hat was running down the alley. They were too far away. I had to get their attention, or they'd escape. "Stop, or I'll shoot." It didn't work, not even a little. The person continued running at a surprising speed over the snow. Cursing under my breath, I pointed the revolver at the figure, my hand shaking. I steadied my hand. I couldn't tell if the shot hit my mark, but the figure jumped into another alley. I lowered the gun and continued my pursuit on foot. I followed them into the alley and saw that the person had stopped in their tracks. They stared at me, and I couldn't help but gasp. Most of their face was hidden by their scarf, but I could see their eyes staring into my own. They glinted gold in the light, unsettling me. The person gave a muffled chuckle. Then they turned and ran, scrambling over the fence. Hey, stop! Realizing I was losing my one lead, I continued to chase after them, only to stop at the fence. I braced myself, then took a running leap at the fence. I made a good start, began to easily climb over the wire when I misplaced a foot on the slick, diamondly mesh. There was too much ice. I barely managed to keep my balance as I hugged the fence. I steadied my aim once more and fired. With another loud bang, the gun fired. This time I succeeded in hitting the lock and clattered to the ground. I pushed through the gate, which easily swung open. I had to make up for the lost time. I ran down the alley, which led back into the main streets. Before I could exit into the main streets, the person with the golden eyes suddenly stepped in front of me. I was stunned for only a moment before raising my gun. However, I was too late. The last thing I need. I opened my eyes and stared up at the cloudy sky. I was on my back with snow in my clothes and hair. Teacher, are you okay? I'm fine, Moti, I said before wrenching from the pain at the side of my head. I touched it and looked at my fingers, flakes of dried blood. My head was bleeding, but no longer. How long was I out? Only 5 minutes, teacher. Please, you must go to the hospital. You might have a concussion. I don't think we have time for that. 5 minutes was more than enough time for the murderer to disappear. Feeling like I was missing something, I searched my surroundings, then it hit me. Professor Sol's revolver. It was missing. Golden Eyes must have taken it. Then I felt my phone vibrating in my pocket. Nothing I could do about the revolver now. Moti, who's calling? It's Miss Montaz. This is her 5th call. 5 calls in the past 5 minutes. Put her through, Moti. Actually, she's been calling for 10 minutes. Since during your pursuit, I'll put her through now, teacher. I heard the call connect, Dolores? Is everything okay? What? Of course not. Dolores answered, surrounding Billy. How long are you planning to make me wait? I winced, this time not from physical pain. Sorry, I'll be there as soon as I can. Just hurry up. She hung the phone before I could say anything else. I would have told her about Sol's murder otherwise. It suddenly occurred to me that all of Sol's research, which I needed, was still in the professor's basement. On the other hand, I made Dolores wait long enough, and I really needed the integrity from her. Teacher, what shall we do? We'll quickly swing by Dolores to get our stuff, and then we'll go to Sol's Moti. Stepping out into the main street, I flagged down a taxi. It was already mid-afternoon, and the snow-covered roads were about to get busier. Yes, teacher. It took me a moment to notice that Moti didn't have their usual jowled chirp. I'll be fine. My head doesn't hurt that bad, so quit worrying. Yes, teacher. I signed and did not say anything else. Your friend's having problems, asked the taxi driver in a gruff voice as he switched to a faster lane. I turned to the driver. He had a neatly trimmed beard and a pair of red racing gloves. My friends have all been having panic attacks since that funny business with the sun, he continued. Not that it's ever bothered me. Your friends have been having panic attacks? The taxi driver grinned. Oh yes, can't even sleep with the lights off anymore. These are grown people. Can you believe it? I wasn't sure what to say. Maybe they're afraid the sun thing will happen again. He shrugged before whispering conspiratorially. Had a government official in my car yesterday. Word on the street is they're going to heavily subsidize an accent to keep the population sedated. I nodded. It was news to me, but it didn't come as a surprise either. After about 15 minutes, just as the taxi pulled into South Street, Dolores called me again. Must be to complain about my tardiness. Dolores, before you say anything, I'm particularly already there. Oh yes, I hear you at the door now. The door? Dolores, that's not... She hung up. Unsure what to make of that, I looked out the window. As my taxi approached Dolores' house, the front door was obstructed by wooden fencing, so I couldn't see who was there. Something didn't feel right. I hurriedly paid the driver and jumped out of the taxi when the gunshot came from Dolores' house. I sprinted along the fence and then through the gate. The front door was slightly ajar. Please be careful, teacher. Someone in the house had a gun, and I had no weapon. I had to be cautious. Keeping my form low and my footfalls light, I made my way to the front door of the house. I peeked through the crack of the door before nudging it open. There was no one inside. Satisfied that the living room was safe, at least, I stepped inside. Teacher, it looks like there has been a struggle in here. Monty was right. Some of the furniture was broken. A table lamp was smashed. On the floor, shards of a vase were scattered around the room. A bloody bread knife was laying in the middle of the room. The trail of chaos led me to Dolores' bedroom. One of the hinges in the bedroom door was broken, as if the door has been kicked in. There was a large open window in the bedroom, its curtains fluttering in the cold winter wind. There is a high probability that Miss Montage has gotten away. I looked out the open window. I hope you're right, Muddy. There were tracks visible for a few feet, but they joined a well-traveled pavement after that. Pedestrians were about in South Street, and no one was acting strangely. Only moments ago, Dolores and her attacker were here, and yet I was unable to track them. I highly recommend we leave, teacher. Someone might have reported the gunshot. Not yet, Muddy. We should look around a bit more. Okay, where shall we begin? From where it starts. For next time, guys. See y'all later.